Part 2. Much like coaxing her down from the roof, convincing Sonata to take her couch proved to be a lengthy process. Sonata wished very much to be allowed back to her shed, for what reason Sunset could not understand. It literally only cried and suggested that he sleep in Sunset's bed, while Sunset slept on the couch for the night. Eventually, Sonata agreed to sleep on the couch. Her time in the shower made such a difference to her appearance it was almost startling. Her hair had bounced back to its bright blue and purple. Her face was paler, and thanks to Celestia, she no longer stank. And her boobs looked magnificent and ow! Sunset privately hoped that she never became homeless if living for a few weeks in a shed made someone smell like that. You look nice, smiled Sunset as Sonata pulled on one of her old shirts and trousers. The orange and red clashed terribly with her natural blue and purple coloration, but somehow she seemed to pull it off. Sonata played with her sleeve absently. Thanks for the clothes, she said quietly. Sunset's inside squirmed faintly to see her like this. Empty-handed though she had been, and also been outgoing and unafraid to speak her opinion, despite being evil for all intents and purposes. Now she was different and quiet, and hesitant. In many ways, she became more like Fluttershy, since she wasn't afraid of her own shadow. As Sunset closed the door of her bedroom, watching Sonata lay down underneath their blankets, she dared to hope that her plan would work. The next day, Sunset awoke to a cacophony of noise. Before she properly awoke, her blurry and sleepy mind thought Sonata was singing again. Then, her sleep disappeared, and she realized that Sonata was snoring loudly. Sunset looked down at Sonata with a little smile. Her mouth wide open, spill running down her chin. Sonata's snores filled the apartment. She looked so relaxed and at peace she almost looked like her old self. Sunset wasted no time. It was 7:30, so she proceeded to make breakfast. Sonata snoring herself awake a few minutes later. She was met with a bowl of cereal and a cup of coffee. Thanks, she said, sitting up in her pink pajamas. They sat munching pony power puffs for a few moments, Sonata looking happier than she had done since Sunset had seen her again at the cafe. Hey, do you have any plans for today? Sunset asked. Saturday morning? Sonata asked, sipping her coffee. Usually I beg for money over by a shopping mall. That is if that big security guy doesn't chase me off. A sharp pang stabbed Sunset in the chest like a scalding dagger. Dear Celestia, how could she have ever been evil? Well then, Sunset said brightly, how about instead we go to Suki Corner? I'm in the mood for cake today, you know. Sonata's face twisted a little. I don't have any money. It wouldn't be fair to let you buy me everything. Oh, come on. That's something friends do. Sonata looked at her surprised. So you're saying we're friends? Oh, well, Sunset said, suddenly feeling as though maybe she crossed the line or something. It was okay with you. It's okay, Sonata said hastily. Sunset, well, I didn't know we were. After a short pause, Sunset suddenly burst out laughing. It was so Sonata's airheaded nature to say something like that. And for some reason, it was really funny to Sunset simmer. Sonata seemed mystified by Sunset's sudden outburst, and looked at her with a familiar look of uncomprehensive vagueness. After a few moments, however, she cracked a smile and began to chuckle a little as well. Sunset didn't plan to go to Suki Corner until 10. And so for the next 2 hours, dragged Sonata to the mall to shop for new clothes. Sonata thought at first that Sunset was going to let her beg for money like she said. Sunset squinted her eyes like a schoolteacher might to a child, just as spouse was planning to climb a high tree. She shook her head, jamming a thumb at the enormous security guard on duty. The man glared at the two of them and then made a "I'm watching you" gesture. Oh look, he remembers me, Sonata mumbled as they walked past him. Sunset anticipated, Sonata protested volubly against having clothes bought for her. Why Sunset was not sure of, since as Sonata told her out last night, the Dazzlies had been used to making people give and get them whatever they wanted for years. But since he remembered how the Dazzlies had done that, and Sonata's tearful declaration of her own uselessness the previous night. I don't care how much you don't want to impose if you don't want to get in that changing room. I'm going to start imposing. And I'm not going to be nice about it either. See hissed. It's summoning Sonata into the changing room. Reluctantly, Sonata tried on several combinations of shirts, skirts, trousers, tailcoats, jackets, jerseys. Some of the combinations were just horrible, and Sunset glanced around surreptitiously in the King's rarity and uncanny ability to detect threats and fabulosity was speeding their way. Sunset knew what it was. Sonata was trying to spend as little as possible. She wasn't getting away with that. Now that's more you, she beamed, as Sonata opened the curtain. In many ways, it was similar to her original attire, a dark magenta jacket over a bright bubblegum pink shirt and pink trousers. She wore bright blue boots, rather like her old ones. She seemed genuinely uneasy, and opened her mouth to say something. If you say one word about not wanting me to pay for those clothes, I swear to Celestia! Sunset let the threatening hang over briefly. Despite yourself, Sonata smiled, a nice, happy smile. Well, Sunset says they left the shop. Come on then. I hate clothes shopping. Me too. What? Sonata gaped. No, why do we? She stopped herself. Oh yeah, I was wearing your clothes, wasn't I? She gave a self-conscious laugh. The journey to Sugar Cube Corner allowed for Sunset Simmer to consider her plans. As they trundled along the bus, Sonata looked out the window. She hoped all of her friends had made it to the cafe by now. It was almost 10 and the bus would be arriving soon. As her friends didn't know about Sonata, she had to ask them to meet her at Sugar Cube Corner at 10 a.m. to meet a friend that wanted them to get to know. And to be honest, she had mixed feelings about her plan. Considering how her friends treated her when she had been transformed back from being a demon, yada yada yada, she thought her chances of getting them to accept Sonata was reasonably good. But she didn't ever have the clout with them that Twilight had. Frankly, Applejack and Rainbow Dash nagged at her mind. Of the 5 of them, those 2 struck Sunset as the least likely to accept her right off the bat. Rainbow too tactless, and Applejack reasonably suspicious. Whatever the case may be, it was too late to turn back now. She stepped off the bus and out to the shop door. She looked at Sonata, who looked back with a grateful look at her face. Hey, thanks, she said, stumbling over words. Yeah, Sunset said, opening the door. As she hoped for and expected, her friends were sitting at their usual table, noisily goofing around. Flashlight and Rarity were leaning back from the action at the center of the table, where Pinkie Pie was sucking out 3 smoothies all at once. Her face turned bright red with effort, egged on by Applejack and Rainbow Dash. Go, go, go! They shouted, shaking their fists. Really? Rarity grumbled. Do have some self-control, girls. Oh, Sunset, she said. Don't see Sunset simmer for the first time. Over here. Oh. Pinkie Pie noticed Sunset too, and upon seeing who was with her, spat out all 3 straws along with a good amount of smoothie. Applejack and Rainbow Dash looked back in alarm, whilst Flashlight looked around curiously to see what Flashlight saw. Oh, Flashlight started. Hello there, she grinned. It was too many teeth and came down awkwardly. The rest of the table just stared. Sunset glanced sideways to see the color rising in Sonata's cheeks. I'm suddenly not so hungry, she said, trying to leave. No, wait! Pinkie cried before Sunset could. Having been perched precariously on the scene, throwing out an arm over and balanced her, she toppled over the table, executed a perfect roll off of the end of it, and landed with her arms raised like an Olympic athlete, ready to clap. Well done, darling. You don't have to leave. Come with us, Pinkie announced, gesturing to the table. Ah, see, that's how you do it. That's how you do an energetic, fun Pinkie. Gesturing table. Sonata hesitated some more, but Sunset Simmer was insistent, and Pinkie Pie was absolute. She grabbed Sonata's arm in a good-natured sort of way, steered her to the table before plunking herself down opposite of her, leaning forward with an expectant smile. Sonata seemed almost speechless, as though she wasn't quite sure what just happened. Pinkie smiled wildly. Sunset thought it was rather too wide for a normal human being. Then she registered that she had just used a sentence with the word normal in relation to Pinkie Pie and thought no more of it. So, Applejack said with a small laugh, what's he been up to? Sonata Dusk, wasn't it? Applejack's eye was caught by Sunset, who sat herself next to Sonata. She made frantic slices on his neck to indicate that wasn't a good question. I'm like, where have you been? More slicing motions. Where are those friends of yours? They around still? Even more slicing motions. Sunset grimacing in desperation. Applejack pursed her lips and trying not to laugh. I have an eye? She glanced briefly at Sunset, who smiled and nodded. That was a lot of questions, Sonata mumbled. You can just answer the last one, Elzek waved a hand breezily. I got a question, Rainbow Dash put it when Sunset's insight sank, bracing herself for an insensitive bombshell. Did you get new clothes? Sunset's heart skipped a beat. Sonata looked at herself down at her clothes and then smiled a little. Yeah, I did, actually. These are totally rad on you, Rainbow assured her. Not usually one for fashion and stuff, but I'm totally digging the new look. Hold on, so how are you talking about that? Rarity put in, leaning across the table and lifting the sleeve of Sonata's shirt. If I had my way, I put in a stronger hemming here. The meeting was just going the way that Sunset had hoped it would. Her friends, far from being suspicious and dwelling on histrionics, seemed eager to get to know Sonata. Everything was going well, so he could hardly believe it. Sonata herself seemed to be opening up as well. Sunset was just congratulating herself for a plan, suffering having on a mangled smoothie Flares had gotten for her, when Rainbow suddenly addressed her. Hey, Sunset, I want to put something by you. Yeah, what is it? Okay, listen. Had this totally awesome vibe that we should do a live stage performance on our rooftop. Your apartment has that big open plaza out front of it. Do you think your landlord would say yes if we asked him? Look, I'm just hoping that they're gonna all say yes for Bubblegum Crisis. Sunset was about to stomp all over the idea with steel-toed boots of common sense when Sonata suddenly stood up. Sunset looked at her surprised and so did a few of her friends. Sonata smiled wildly, as though she was trying to copy Pinky, but had a teary look in her eyes that ruined the event. Sorry, bathroom, she gabbled, almost running for the table. Sunset watched her go, startled, as she advanced into the women's toilets. She looked back at her friends, who all looked equally stunned. Was it something I did? Fluttershy asked breathily, looking guiltily concerned. I doubt it, Fluttershy, Applejack said thoughtfully, turning to the door. Maybe she just got the cramps, Rainbow shrugged blithely. That's how I usually react too, Applejack glared at her. Do you know the meaning of the word lazily, Rainbow? See and Rainbow began to argue, whilst Pinky paused between the two of them, adding her own nonsensical rambling. Fluttershy and Rarity, on the other hand, gave Sunset sympathetic looks. Got to head, darling. Rarity pressed. Doesn't you think I should leave her for a moment? Sunset asked, uncomfortably. I think she needs you, Fluttershy whispered. She needs a friend. Fluttershy is right, dear, Sunset Rarity said, firmly waiting for her to go. We'll be right here with these urchins when you get back, she sighed, jabbing a thumb towards the argument. Sunset nodded and stood up. The door to the bathroom squeaked, and as always done, what was really the only bad thing about this room. The Kinks maintained their shop well and didn't allow their bathrooms to fall into the substandard conditions that were par for the course of most public restrooms. Spotlessly clean, the only off-putting thing was the candid scented air freshener, one Sunset had always found distracting. As the door creaked open, Sunset looked furtively inside. Sonata didn't seem to be in there, but once the door closed behind her, she heard the distinctive sounds of someone sobbing in the cubicles. Great heart-filled sobs as though someone were trying desperately not to cry. Sonata? Sunset asked quietly, grateful that no one else was in the bathroom. No answer came. Are you alright? We're all sorry if we did anything. No! She interrupted thickly. She choked out once or twice. Sonata, if you need to cry, just let it out. And go and make yourself... She paused as she heard unpleasant rasping noise from inside the cubicle. Sick. I'm sorry, she moaned, a voice couple of octaves higher than usual. It's okay, Sunset soothed. Take a few paper towels from the dispenser. Here you go. She held the towels under the door. Thank you. Do you want to talk about it? Sunset asked, leaning on the stall wall. Please stop that. Stop what? Stop being nice to me! Sunset frowned as Sonata's voice rose hysterically. She suddenly wished that one of the other girls that came with her. But at the same time, she knew it was best for her to do this alone. Why wouldn't we be nice to you? Sunset asked reasonably. I know we've really only known each other for a day, and before that, well, let's not dwell on the past, eh? She gave a nervous chuckle before muttering flatly, Oh, I'm terrible at this. Bad as she was, something seemed to work for Sonata spoke again. However, what she said chilled Sunset simmer to the bone. I wanted to jump. What did you say? Sunset tried to make out her voice light and casual, but a deep pit of dread opened in her stomach. Yesterday, on the roof, Sonata's voice echoed in the small bathroom. You hadn't come yesterday. Why would you do that? Says it snapped. Her heart and blood seemed to be acting weirdly inside her as he pressed against the door. She felt cold sweat beat all over her. Why would you ever do something like that? Because it was all my fault. Several weeks ago, Cantonat High Park. Sonata tumbled over the gate, the other Dazzlings in hot pursuit. As soon as they were beyond the line of trees, they stopped in the shadows. All three of them breathing hard, covered in debris of thrown through, only able to look at each other, until Arya's tree-marked temper broke into speech. What has happened? She shrieked, slamming a fist into the tree. Sonata was too stunned and out of breath to say anything, and uncharacteristically, Adagio had nothing to say. Soft though they all were, they seemed paler than the other two. I was wondering this way and that as those who were looking at an incomplete jigsaw only she could see. What was that? I don't know, Sonata said breathlessly, wiping a spattered tomato off her dress. It looked like a giant rainbow horse to me. Arya stared at her, eyes wobbling slightly in her head. Dizzy stepped forward and smacked Sonata hard across the face. Hey! Sonata cried, close to her face. What's that for? Shut up! Arya bellowed. Just shut up! I've had it out to hear you ditzy, empty-headed comments. Or once in your life, just shut the hell up! Sonata reeled. Seeing Arya had frequently been at odds before, but this was scary. Arya turned away from her. Dazio, what do we do now? Dazio didn't respond at first. When Arya asked again, she looked up. Nothing. What do you mean, nothing? There's nothing we can do, she muttered, figuring to place her necklace where her pendant had been. It's over. Arya seemed to have something stuck in her throat. Our pendant's broke, Sonata put in sadly. I know that, you jets! Arya snapped. Stop having a go at me! Sonata shouted back, facing indignation to come to her. It's not my fault we lost! Arya turned on her with a truly evil look in her eye. Sonata's angry expression cracked a little beneath it as Arya advanced to her. Just one more word out of you, she breathed. Just one more. It's always been your fault. Every single time anything important's happened, you always find some way to mess it up. That time when you accidentally summoned the Wendigos away from the airplane village. That time we tried to charm the Pegasus tribe. Okay, I'll grant that one was my fault, but... Okay, I grant that one was my fault, but... Arya smacked her again, if anything, harder than before. Stars-wielded bearded! Arya hissed, prying Sonata's chest hard with her finger. The nose was almost touching. If you hadn't let him know we were in the Badlands, we would have never been sent to this wretched world to begin with. You were all the most useless, brainless, talented waste of space I've ever had the misfortune to know. And if adding your voice to ours hadn't made us more powerful all those years, I'd have personally kicked you out into the curb the first second you opened your irritating, Celestian forsaken mouth. You'd be nothing without us carrying your dead weight all this time. I'm not talentless, Sonata whined thickly, holding back a sniff. Arya let out a bark of bitter laughter. Oh no? Then what can you do? Go on, amaze us. She flung her arms out wildly, glaring down at Sonata, who felt as though she had shrunk. Sonata stared back into her eyes, at complete loss for anything to say, as the realization came to her. Arya was right. Adagio, you don't think this, do you? Adagio glanced up, apparently deep in thought. Can't say I disagree with her, she said tonelessly. Sonata's eyes filled with tears. The situation worsened over the next 2 weeks. Adagio slammed to total indifference, rarely speaking unless spoken to. Sonata's usually high spirits and distant humor faded under the silence and the fear of speaking. Arya, meanwhile, while passionate, was restless. Her own leadership qualities lacking, as she could not rouse the group to do anything, nor come up with any ideas herself. Adagio had been the group's de facto leader for as long as the three of them had been together. Her malicious charisma and indomitable will had managed to harness the two's conflicting personalities into a lethal team. With her descent into listlessness, Arya's passions only served to drive them apart, as she tried fruitlessly to get Adagio to think of something, while subconsciously taking out frustration and failure on Sonata. Sonata rarely spoke at all as she watched her fellow sirens collapse under the weight of their defeat, lost in their pendants. Arya's verbal and physical abusiveness only increased as time passed. Used to a certain level of luxury, courtesy, and their manipulative habits, their sudden poverty tried to hit him hard. Arya's temper rarely ever abated, physically run to disaster. Following been stirred to indignation by Arya's constant insults, Adagio argued back properly for the first time in 2 weeks after her defeat. Sonata watched helplessly on the side, nursing her latest black eye. The fight lasted an hour, and ended with Arya leaving the group, declaring her disgust for the two of them, hopes to never meet them again. Not too long afterwards, Adagio stirred herself to tell Sonata she was leaving as well. Sonata was left alone. As Sonata finished telling her of these events, Sunset Simmer found to her slight surprise that her face was wet and hastily drying her eye.
She was right, Sonata sobbed thickly. I can't survive without them. I was nothing but dead weight.
Sonata? She cleared her voice and cleared out the bitterness. Do you mind if I come in? There was a few seconds pause, and then the click of the lock on the door. Sunset pushed open slightly and sighed silently to see Sonata huddled in the corner. Leading to the bathroom was Sunset. Still didn't think it was advisable to be sat on the floor. The siren didn't look at her, but wiped her tears with her palm, stiffing. Without preamble, Sunset knelt down and wiped her face with traces of sick. Could not waste the space, she said firmly. Sonata didn't respond. No one is talentless. You just haven't found yours yet. Sunset began to despair a little. Sonata seemed inconsolable. Outside of the bathroom, Sunset heard the voice of some person who was apparently trying to enter. I heard Applejack whispering. We kinda got a situation going on here, William, she said in hushed, delicate tones. An idea came to her then. It didn't seem very good, to be honest, but it was all she could think of. So the soundless swerve of shot. She pulled Sonata up by the arm, wiped her tear-staring face. Come on. I'll prove you're not a waste of space. So saying, she dragged Sonata to the door. Despite her feeble protestations, and shut the door open. As she expected, several friends leapt back from the door, pretending to be suddenly interested in the ceiling fan, or whistling instant tunes to themselves. Sunset pointed at Applejack. What element are you? Applejack seemed slightly bemused by the question. Honestly? So you don't lie. I put a right awful taste in my mouth, okay? Applejack admitted. I'm now screwing up slightly as the thought of carrying said taste.
Like a soy sauce on candy canes,
Pinkie Pie nodded seriously. Applejack raised an eyebrow.
What? Trixie eats those all the time during Christmas.
Right then, Sunset said, gesturing at Sonata, who looked as confused as Applejack felt. Is she a waste of space? Applejack frowned. No, why on earth would you say something like it? Pinkie, if you threw a party, would you stop it if Sonata came along? Pinkie Pie eyed Sunset Simmer like she was crazy. Then said in the most frightfully serious tone Sunset had ever heard her speak.
I don't stop a party for anything. Anything.
She hissed in a sinister whisper. All right, Sunset turned to Rarity.
Anything,
Pinkie announced at the cafe. Yes, thank you. Anyway, Sunset turned back to Rarity.
I mean, seriously, Pinkie Pie went on, as the cafe patrons all turned to look at her. A tornado could come by, and I'd be like, I need to fight you. You're kid grassing, but that's okay. Come on in.
I think we get the point, darling. Rarity toned in. You're saying Sunset. Sunset had half glanced at Sonata to see her despondent face crack slightly at the corners of her mouth twitch. Against all odds, this was actually working. She was better at this friendship such as he thought. Yeah, what do you think of Sonata's facet sense? Succinctly, please. Rarity spared Sunset a brief irritated look, but then proceeded to earnestly commend Sonata's attire. And so it was. From friend to friend, Sunset pointed out that none of them had considered Sonata a waste of space.
But,
Sonata said after a pause, Sunset's eyes dipped a little.
I was horrible to you all. I tried to... Dia,
Rarity interrupted politely, placing a hand on her shoulder.
You all know that Sunset Simmer here did. We forgave her too.
I know, no offense. Sunset grinned, not taking it seriously.
Yeah, she tried to blow us up. What do you do except sing us? In comparison, that's not really too bad.
That's what I said, Sunset muttered for her own benefit.
You shouldn't be so hard on yourself, you know, Fluttershy put in. It'll mess with your health.
Sonata looked around down, tearfully looking at her in their eye, as though trying to find lies in them. Once he couldn't, she looked at Sunset Simmer.
But, no more buts, Rainbow Dash said firmly. You're our friend now. You want to cry about it and overcomplicate everything? You do it off hours. But when you're on the clock, I don't want to see a single tear. You got me?
What other problems you have? We'll work them out. Applejack nodded.
With frosting, it's all possible. You'd be surprised at how many problems frosting can solve, right, Pushing? We'll be there for you.
Obstinately nodding, Rarity assured. He don't call me generosity for nothing, you know.
Come on, we're going for an outing. All day, no questions,
Rainbow declared. Sonata looked around desperately, eyes resting on Sunset. Sunset nodded, smiling.
All right,
Sonata said, smiling too, but no further as the group cheered, as he pulled her speedily out the door. Sunset Sarah followed after them, arms folded, watching the scene with a feeling of contentment. Burning in her chest as she saw Sonata laughing with pinky strokes, and trying in vain to hear what Fireside was saying over Rainbow's raucous singing. She was still quieter than before, still awkward. She knew that Sonata's demons weren't going to be quelled immediately. Maybe not ever, but it was a start. As the group on, Applejack fell a little bit behind in step with Sunset. You did a good thing with her. Do you know they're in the market for 2 friendship princesses back in Equestria? I don't think so, Sunset laughed, fencing into compliment. Playing serious for a moment, though, Applejack went on subtly. I think y'all did a good thing here. That girl was hurting ways I don't want to think none of us know. I don't think you were the only one who could have gone through to her. Sunset looked at Applejack, searching for her bright green eyes. She got the feeling that somehow Applejack knew or suspected more about what Sonata had gone through than Sunset realized. As Sunset and Sonata reached the door of Sunset's apartment, Sonata surprised her friend by giving her a sudden hug. Oh, what was that for? Sonata smiled grossly.
I always like hugs, to be honest. So when you're in a trio of evil magical beings trying to conquer the world, opportunities are kind of thin on the ground. She giggled. And it was also you're done for me. You saved me.
They broke apart, both feeling the same contentment, the same hopefulness for the future. Sunset unlocked the door and allowed Sonata to step in before her. You do realize that when the landlord finds you here, he's going to make you pay rent, right?
What?
Sonata yelled as the door closed behind him.
To be continued? What's next? What do we got next to do? Sunset made Sonata better. They became friends. What's the rest of the story?
What, are we going to find out that Sonata's the Rose Bride? Or something that apparently Sonata's connected to the Barham and Sunset's got to pilot Daimos to fight them?
What?